On my way back to Brunswick. Now, I woke up this morning in Lexington, Kentucky. Drove all the way to Scioto Downs to race the horses tonight, and things were much better. Much better. You know, I'm no different than anybody else. When things aren't going good, you start questioning yourself. You know, have mistakes been made? Are we missing something? Is there something going on? But you have to remind yourself, and I have to remind you also, that these are animals, right? Dr. Latessa can't come in with some magic formula and make them all healthy. And if they're a little under the weather, you know, in Danny's case, had tied up his last start. We had found that out after the race. In Supermind's case, his weight count was high. Now, the only low point of the night, for the most part, was Emerald Tom. Emerald Tom's GGT was still 66, which was quite a bit higher than high normal. But with GGTs, you never really know, right? When you look at that level, and I look at how a lot of the horses have raced in the past with higher GGTs, they raced like Emerald Tom did tonight. But you always get one or two that can kind of push through. Maybe they aren't as good as their very best day, but they're still okay. A little flat, but okay. Much like he was in Northfield Park his last start. And one thing we did notice tonight was that he only wears vet wrap behind. Really doesn't, for a horse that looks kind of rickety, doesn't touch anywhere. But he did touch both his jacks tonight. Was it the flip-flops? Track was pretty deep. By the middle of the night, they cut it up. And see, it wasn't hot tonight. Toward the end of the night, you look at the mile for Tomboy Strong, you're like, oh, 56. It was cold and windy at that point, especially since we've been on like I woke up this morning and the heat again in Kentucky would just take your breath away today. And then I get to, you know, the clouds roll in. It didn't rain, but sure felt like it would. And then the wind picked up, and as they dug the track up and dug it up, it did get a little bit deep. So you could easily convince me that Emerald Tom was maybe slipping and, you know, trying as hard as he could and get into his jacks. That's why in the first turn he never really got bumpy or steppy, but certainly did in the last turn. As the race wore on, he got a little tired and chipping at himself. So all we can do is continue to combat that GGT. Now the good news is it shouldn't jump. Ow. Excuse me. It shouldn't jump from him racing tonight, but I would be interested to see how it looks in a couple of days. I'd like to see it start to creep down normally, and of course, we can put him in the Stallion Series. Obviously, make things easier. And as I say, it was a low point. Remember, this is a horse that trotted with broken hobbles at 56-1 3 starts ago. So before you start saying, well, maybe he's not that good. Well, yeah, he is. So we started off our night fortunate. So I'll give you guys a little play-by-play of how the races went. Now, I knew going on the track, the 7 and the 8 looked on paper to tower above the other horses, right? Certainly Danny. Danny's coming off 2 poor performances. I did not know how he'd do tonight. Yes, I was confident we had fixed the AST and it was down normal. Dr. Latessa was giving me updates all week, so was Jason. So in that regard, I was confident. But again, his first start he won was a maiden 57. Looked good, but a maiden. Then he raced with H horses. He was second in 56 and a piece. Looked pretty good. And then come out with 2 poor races. Had to be put on Lasix. So I had all these concerns in my head. Is maybe the Lasix is he not really... I've seen it where horses just don't race as well. You know, you've now put them on the Lasix program. They need to stay on that program for 100 days. Now what happens if it's not really agreeing with them? That may sound silly to you, but there are horses Rock Shining Star. I mentioned to you last week, got poor last year when we put him on Lasix and had to take him off it. That's going on in my head. He's got the flip-flops back on. The track's a little deeper than it has been. Is that going to be a problem? At the end of the day, I just had to go out and race. Now, I know that Chris's horse is pretty fractious. 8 horse looks like the horse to beat. I get off on a really good foot. I'm just going to make them work for it a little bit. I'm going to put them in a tough spot and see what they do. Chris's horse tipped over. First turn, the banker horse. Dan's horse keeps coming. Obviously, I'm going to cut him loose easy. He's like, I don't know, 1 to 5, 2, 3 to 5, whatever the hell he was. He was the favorite, and rightfully so on the program. He clears the front. My goodness, he was a small little horse. I'm right behind him. I'm thinking, I'm going to be second here. I know the only other horse to beat, truthfully, on the program has already made a break. Dan's rolling along. I think we're there 57 and a piece. His horse doesn't look really good on the front. Like, we're crawling down the backstretch. And I mean crawling down the backstretch. And Justin Irvine comes with a long shot and almost has him headed. Now Dan's horse fights back on. And I'm saying to myself, I'm going to beat Justin for second. I'm going to be second easy. Pretty good. Come out of the turn. I'm like, geez, Dan's horse seems really vulnerable. Just looks really soft. And I didn't even have the thought in my head for a step. And he ran. Got pacey and made a break. I dropped him down to the inside. It was an easy win. What a way to start the night. I felt great. Back was a little pitchy, but I felt great. You know, I was so proud of myself. Get up this morning. Didn't need any Tylenol, no Advil. My back felt good. Had a hot shower. Got underway. Got in the car. Drove 3.5 hours to Scioto. Still felt good. So I hadn't had Tylenol since supper time the day before. About 5 o'clock. I get out. A little stiff. So I had a little Tylenol and an Advil tonight to drive, but I feel fine now. Much better. And obviously a win even heightens that. So I'm feeling pretty good now. I'm like, don't get too ahead of yourself. You know, Supermine's coming off a high white count. Emerald Tom has that high GGT. Judy's Money's moving into the Ohio State race. Somebody messaged me and said, was a mistake made? Highest Honors is not in the Ohio State Fair race on Saturday. Yeah, why? No, why would I? I had no interest in putting him in that race. And he did race very, very good in a Buckeye his last start. He's still a maiden. I don't really think he belongs in the Ohio State Fair. I didn't put Diosa Della Donza in it either. I just think we need to stay in our lane with those horses and make sure they don't get discouraged. Diosa's coming off a couple of 2 or 3 kind of ho-hum races. I can't put her in that race. And Highest Honors, I think, is really starting to mature and grow up and race well, but not in there. Right? Now, Judy's Money was undefeated. It's 2 Buckeye races. Now she's got to go up against Sire State fillies, but she's been racing well. She's already won a mile, and she already won at 57 and 2. Crushed him in the Buckeye her last start. I think she's earned her right to win. I go out of there. Aaron goes out of there. Now the 2 horses to beat are Aaron and Dan. Dan goes out of there, clears the front, gets everything his own way. I feel like I just get a run at him. If that lane, I'll be all right, but I was wrong. I ended up third. Him and Aaron finished 1-2. Those are Sire State fillies, right? Irv Miller's filly and Aaron's filly. Quality Sire State fillies. We got one of the best Buckeye fillies. So, certainly no disrespect. I thought the filly had a great account of herself and a strong third. Now, Supermind, as I said, was on the track. I don't know how it'll be. We opted to leave the hood on him. He was so flat his last start, but his weight count was so high he had to be sick. Dr. Latessa has done a great job treating him. But again, there's no magic pills or something you can give a horse that just makes it healthy all of a sudden. We knew we had quality horses, but they weren't racing well, and their bloods were showing us exactly why. And all we can do is chip away at that and work on that. Our caretakers and trainers, they've all done a great job with the horses, especially Dr. Latessa, treating the horses. Supermind comes out, good horse ends up on the front with Ronnie Gillespie. Good horse in behind him. I come first over. The horse in the 2-hole makes a break around the last turn with Brett Miller. Looked like he might have been a winner. He makes a break, and Brady Brown sneaks up the inside and beats me for second. But Supermind raced great, and keep in mind, he was sick his last start. So it's hard to get him tight, keep him healthy, and get him prepared for this race. So great job by everybody at the barn doing that. Supermind was great. Judy's Money was great. Emerald Tom, I know Aaron was so mad after the race, and what are you going to do? I left it with Emerald Tom also. I don't want Justin's horse. I don't think that horse is any good on paper. I don't want that horse in front of me. And if he's going to get in front of me, he's going to have to work for it. What I assumed would happen is I would push through, Aaron would push through, Justin would have to take back, Aaron would clear to the front. Now I'm following the favorite. Instead, Aaron makes a break. Justin clears the front, and I went to remove coming out of the turn, and Justin gave me the old no, don't do that. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever, no big deal. It's not like my horse was a layover. I thought at this point, I'm figuring I'm going to beat Justin. I got a great shot. Aaron's horse already run. But again, I have no way to gauge how that high liver count will affect Emerald Tom. And clearly it did. And I believe he was probably slipping tonight. The reason I say that was, it's not like the liver started, I shouldn't say this, maybe it did. Something bothered him more on the end of the mile than it did at the start. Minor amount of mucus, minor irritation, no blood found afterwards. We'll draw his blood again, but I suspect you're still going to see that liver up around mid-50s, which is just too high. Now we know. We're going to have to work extra hard to get that down. That level on Dr. Latessa's machine is 0 to 37. He was at 66 a couple of days ago. That level doesn't move that quickly either. But again, I have no way until after the race to reassess how much that liver count is bothering him. And again, we had to scope him to make sure that it wasn't just me saying, oh, well, clearly it's the liver. It must be the liver. Well, what if he bled? What if he was full of mucus? But he wasn't. And we know that now. So, no complaints. This is a horse, I've already seen him trot in 56. I've already seen the horse trot great. We can put boots on him and cover him up high. My first initial thought was, well, I'll just take the flip-flops off him. I don't know if that'll work. We need to put them back on Danny. Also, there's a reason they're on there. And it's not just an easy, just take those off. There's a reason they're on there. So we'll reassess everything with Emerald Tom. Obviously, the easiest first step would be put him in the Buckeye. There's nothing wrong with that. This is raced great. And then, of course, Tomboy Strong. Somebody said, is she as good as you thought she was now? Or is she starting to lose her shine? Not lose her shine at all. You know what I should have done? So going into the first turn, I had two options. I could drop down in front of Dan, or I could let him trot through. Now, if I let him trot through, hold my position, I'm in the 2-hole. But if I drop down in front of him, maybe put that filly in a tough spot. A spot she maybe doesn't want to be. Maybe she blows up. Who am I to say? I know mine's not gonna. Tomboy Strong is good. She just a step above. Like, I guess Judy's Money would give her a run for her money now, but there was no way to know that at the start. Judy's Money is just such a nice filly. She's just so tough and durable. But Tomboy Strong's a nice filly too. She just got a little discouraged, and by the time she raced, like that filly went in 53. right? 2-3 weeks ago, whatever it was, and then wins like the length of the stretch. It had to beat me 10, 12, 13 lengths maybe. That's what it felt like it anyway. And they only went in 56. It was windy and cold at that point. Cold for what we've been accustomed to the last 2 weeks, for sure. She raced good. No complaints. She's going to be a very, very good Buckeye filly. I was so proud of the way she blasted out of there. Never put a step in. Not a step. We changed her boots. I didn't tinker with her shoes. Oh, wait. We might have put aluminums on her behind. I'm not sure. I've been gone and I haven't checked. If we had made any changes, aside from getting the custom boots that the lady had built us that works with Tim, I apologize, I don't know your name. Fantastic job on the boots, by the way. If we had made, if the shoeing adjustment was made, I believe we were going to put aluminums on her behind them. Philly did everything great. It's just a lot to chew off. I'll make the statement right now. That Gadusa filly, I think that's how you say her name, might be one of the best Ohio breds I've ever seen. And Luther had a really good one a couple of years ago. Beaver, everybody has a good one. So I guess that's unfair to say, but she's one of them. An extremely talented filly. I hope she goes away. She's Kentucky eligible too. Go to Kentucky. But Tomboy Strong raced good. Can't ask her to do much more than that. So finally a great night. We started the day with Nassau. Somebody said, "Oh, what's wrong with Nassau?" He just looks weak. You know, I've been so focused on getting him qualified, just get a good line on him, but it really wasn't a good line. We'll get him reassessed. You know, if I bought him on a whim and he didn't show the lines he showed, I would be concerned. I already know what he can do. We just have to get him back to that point. There was no issues with him almost making a break or getting out of gear today. So I think we're on the right track, but he wasn't flat. So flat lines, but flat miles for Nassau and for Emerald Tom. We'll see what caused both of those. I think at least with one of them I know. Tomboy Strong did everything she could to muster a fifth. Judy's Money was great. Supermind was great. And Uncle Danny was very, very good tonight. It was very nice to see the Uncle Danny emerge that we thought we knew. And especially now, knowing what we knew about those two lines. One of them he bled, the other one, his AST was high. It's easy to say it because he's our horse, but you got to pitch those lines. It wasn't this fun. So hopefully we get things going in the right direction again. Very, very good night at the office tonight. Really proud of what the horses did. Remember, this was not a Sire Stake race. This was the Ohio State Fair race. This is open to both Buckeye and Sire Stake horses, the top of the food chain and everything underneath. And it was a great night at the office. So tomorrow, looking forward to watching. I'm heading to Ontario in the morning. I'm going to watch Melisandre, Captain Doolittle, Arrowhead, Hanover. Perfect Thought, big race for her tomorrow. Good luck to Megan and Scotty, all my partners. Spitfire Overseas is in tomorrow night also. Lifting Legend will race at Grand River, and we'll close our night out with Yo Mister. So there you have it. Our day is over. My 3-day voyage to Kentucky is over. I'm better than I was. I am quite bruised, but healing. So tomorrow is a new day. I'm going to get up. I'm going to drive to Ontario and watch Ollie play baseball this weekend. It should be a lot of fun and just relax. It's been a pretty hectic last 72 hours. Unfortunately, I will heal quicker than the old car here. As soon as I get some time to get it fixed, I will, but that will not happen for the foreseeable future. So, take care. I will talk to you soon. Your night, again, is almost over. But have a wonderful rest of your week heading into what could be, and hopefully is, a great weekend. Take care, everybody.